In this example, we'll look at how we can use the buffer tool. Remember, the buffer tool defines a polygon around our input features at a specific distance. So here we are looking at San Diego Mesa College campus. We are looking at bus stops in the general area, and we want to know how many bus stops are within a quarter mile of campus. So our input feature, buffer tool you can find, your buffer tool you can find up in the tools menu. You can also search for it in your geoprocessing tools like I did here. So input features will be our campus. Output feature class will be, we can leave this campus buffer. We want a quarter mile. For our buffer itself, we are going to set, there'll only be one buffer because we're just buffering the one school. So we'll go ahead and set the dissolve type to all, even though we don't really need to, because we just will have one buffer. So we can go ahead and click run. And we can see, let's move it under, our quarter mile buffer around campus. You can then use this buffer if we wanted to select by location. Make sure I'm doing this right. Features open. So we want to change this to our transit stops. Selecting features, our buffer. We can apply and OK, and we can move. It's not the best selection color, but we can see the color's not great, but we can see the, let me change this color to maybe a light yellow or light green, see if that looks any better. So we can see that we've selected, and we go into our attribute table, we can look specifically at the ones we've selected. We have 11 bus stops selected that are within a quarter mile of campus. Your book also has you look at the multiple ring buffer. So this is just a regular buffer. When we want to buffer one feature, we can look up our multiple ring buffer. And this is the one that's going to be creating specified distances, so there'll be more than one buffer. We're still going to keep, let's turn campus back on. We'll still keep campus as our input feature. We'll set it at a quarter mile, half mile, and 1 mile. Yeah, we'll do 1 mile. Distance unit will be miles. We went non-overlapping rings, and we'll go ahead and click run. And we can see we've created our quarter mile, half mile, and mile buffer. So if you wanted to walk a mile from campus, how many bus stops you could get, and so forth. Lastly, I wanted to show you what buffers look like around many features, because in our last example we were just seeing the buffer around Mesa. So here we're looking at libraries, and we're still seeing those transit points. So we can see which libraries have transit within a quarter mile of them. So our input features will be transit stops, libraries. We will call this library buffer. We will set our distance again to a quarter mile. We could do whatever felt necessary, and we'll make sure we change that dissolve type to dissolve to single feature. I'll show you the difference too, what they'll look like. But okay, so we'll go ahead and click run. This is with our dissolve buffers. Okay, so let's zoom back in. Let's look up in North County. So as we zoom in, we can start to see the quarter mile buffer around each library. Which library is this? This is our Carlsbad Library, main library Dove. We can see how many bus stops are within a quarter mile of that library. We can look at each individual one. And here's a good example of where our buffers have dissolved. So these two buffers overlap, so we make them just one buffer. We could do this again, where we keep them as they're single, no dissolve, their features separately, and we'll see the difference there. So here we can see that now we have two individual buffers for each of the libraries. And I'll just turn them on and off so you can see the difference of the dissolve, the output type dissolve none versus the output dissolved all.